Picture this for a second. You are standing right in the middle of a colossal, like 80,000 seat stadium.
Oh, just packed to the brim.
Yeah, exactly. It's the 2026 World Cup. The tension in the air is, it's so thick, it honestly feels like a physical weight on your chest.
Right, you could just feel the electricity.
You really can. And then a striker breaks past the defensive line, slops the ball perfectly into the back of the net, and the entire stadium just absolutely erupts.
Pure chaos.
Pure, unadulterated chaos and joy. I mean, strangers are hugging, drinks are flying everywhere, but then the referee pauses on the touchline.
Yeah, the dreaded pause.
Right, he puts a hand to his ear.
And in that split second, the collective breath of like 80,000 people just stops. The chemistry of the entire stadium completely shifts.
You can almost feel the air get sucked right out of the building.
Yeah.
And suddenly that roaring, chaotic thunder of fans is muffled. In its place, taking over the entire stadium, is this low, rhythmic, digital heartbeat.
Some thump thump.
Exactly. And you're hearing that digital heartbeat because of a massive, I mean, truly wild technological shift. We've been poring over this fascinating insider analysis called the Millimeter World Cup, and it outlines how the 2026 tournament across the U.S., Canada, and Mexico is doing something completely unprecedented.
It really is a watershed moment.
It is. And our mission with you today is to really unpack this revolution, because for over a century, football was governed purely by human eyes, human hearts, and, well, human errors.
Right. A millimeter of grass meant the difference between a lifetime of glory or just a generation of total heartbreak.
Exactly. But this tournament represents a transition where the beautiful game is no longer merely being officiated. It's being actively computed.
Yeah, we're looking at a permanent evolution here.
Yeah.
From the reactive video reviews of the past to a truly omnipresent AI system.
Omnipresent is a good word for it.
Right. It goes so far beyond just trying to get the calls right. The technology detailed in these sources is fundamentally redefining what constitutes, reality on the pitch.
Like a completely objective reality.
Exactly. We're moving from a subjective interpretation, like what a referee thought they saw through the sweat and the rain, to an objective, mathematically computed record of reality, one that's updating hundreds of times a second.
It blows my mind. But to really grasp how wild this new tech is, we have to kind of look back at the mechanical flaw of the previous systems. Like, if you watch the World Cups in 2018 or 2022, you know the absolute frustration of traditional VAR.
Oh, it was agonizing.
Totally agonizing.
Right.
Referees just hunched over those little monitors on the sidelines, scrolling through pixelated frame-by-frame replays.
Drawing those incredibly slow lines across the screen.
Yes. The endless debates over, like, a blurry elbow or a trailing foot. I mean, commentators would constantly point out that you cannot draw a mathematically straight line from a single broadcast camera angle.
You really can't. And I mean, the original VAR was an upgrade from totally blind officiating, sure.
Yeah.
But Dr. Arnav Sharma, he's a sports technology analyst, highlighted in our sources, he points out a fatal flaw in that old architecture.
Right.
He calls it human latency.
Human latency. Okay, let's unpack this, because that is the exact phrase that really clicked for me. How did human latency actually cripple the old system?
Well, the old system relied entirely on a human operator manually pausing a broadcast camera feed, right?
All right.
So they were essentially guessing the exact microsecond the ball was kicked by the attacking player. They would scrub back and forth and say, there, that frame is the kick point.
And then they draw their little manual offside lines.
Exactly. But a standard broadcast camera captures about 50 frames per second.
Which, I mean, sounds fast.
It does sound fast. But at the elite speeds these athletes are moving, the math just falls apart.
Because they're covering so much distance, right?
Precisely. In a single 50 frame per second camera frame, an elite player at full sprint can move 10 to 15 centimeters.
Wow. 15 centimeters. That's like half a foot in a single frame.
Right. So the margin for error was completely unacceptable. You had human operators guessing the exact kick point on a screen, and missing by a single frame, literally a tiny fraction of a second, meant missing the player's true position on the field by half a foot.
It's like trying to referee a bullet train using a Polaroid camera.
That's a great way to put it.
You're just capturing the blur and hoping you guess the right spot. So football had to stop looking at video frames and start tracking reality itself. And the solution they developed is honestly straight out of science fiction. The Adidas Trionda match ball?
Oh, yeah.
But it's not just a ball anymore, is it?
Not even close. The 2026 match ball is essentially a live IoT sensor platform. Santiago Manso, a lead systems engineer in the sources, he actually breaks down the internal architecture.
And what's fascinating here is what they actually put inside it.
Right. Right in the dead center of the ball lies an inertial measurement unit, an IMU.
Wait, okay, but how does a delicate sensor survive that? I mean, you've got players launching this thing at 130 kilometers per hour.
It's amazing. It's suspended perfectly in the center by a highly engineered web of synthetic tendons.
Like a suspension bridge inside the ball.
Exactly like that. These tendons absorb all the kinetic shock while keeping the IMU perfectly stabilized right at the core. And while it's surviving that impact, it's doing an incredible amount of computational work.
What kind of work?
Well, this IMU measures acceleration, rotation, and force in 3 dimensions. But the truly critical factor, the thing that actually solves Dr. Sharma's human latency problem, is its refresh rate.
This is the crazy part.
The sensor inside the ball transmits data at 500 hertz.
500 times every single second.
Yeah. It is constantly pulsing out its exact physical state to the stadium's network.
So think about the mathematical margins of error we just talked about, If the old 50-frame camera left a 15-centimeter blind spot between frames, the Trionda ball's 500 hertz sensor shrinks that blind spot to practically nothing.
It's basically eliminated.
It acts as a flawless, high-speed digital timestamp. The exact microsecond the player's boot makes contact, the exact millisecond the ball compresses and leaves the foot, that data is permanently burned into the match record.
Right, which completely eliminates the human guesswork of finding the kick point that used to give officials such a massive headache.
Okay, so the precision of the kick point is completely solved. However, knowing exactly when the ball is kicked is pretty much entirely useless if the system doesn't know exactly where the players are at that exact same microsecond.
Yet the ball is only half of the equation.
Right. The ball can't see the players. So how do they synchronize that internal 500 hertz heartbeat with the physical locations of 22 moving athletes?
Through an entirely separate parallel tracking system. The stadiums are equipped with 12 dedicated optical tracking cameras.
And these are mounted uniformly under the roof structure, right?
Exactly. And to be clear, these are not the cameras broadcasting the game to your television. They are exclusively feeding raw visual data directly to the AI.
And they are pulling an astonishing amount of data.
They continuously calculate precise 3-dimensional coordinates. The AI overlay maps 29 distinct tracking points on every single player's body.
29 points.
Yeah, we're talking about mapping the shoulders, the elbows, hips, knees, right down to the tips of the toes. And it tracks all 29 of those specific points 50 times a second.
So it's building this live skeletal wireframe that mimics the player's exact posture in real time.
Perfectly.
And then you combine the 500 hertz ball timestamp with the skeletal tracking data, and the AI recreates an undeniable millimeter-accurate map of the entire pitch.
That's the system.
But hold on, I need to stop you there, because here's where it gets really interesting, and honestly, where I had some serious pushback on what FIFA's doing.
Oh.
Yeah, because mapping 29 tracking points per player, updating 50 times a second, that sounds like absolute overkill. Yet the sources detail these Lenovo 3D scanning booths that players have to use before the tournament even begins.
Yes, the physical clones.
Right. Every single player steps into this high-tech locker room booth. There's a rapid whirring sound, a flash of light, and the system creates a perfectly detailed, custom-dimensioned physical clone of them. Why in the world are they doing that?
Yeah.
Weren't the 29-point stick figures plenty of data?
I mean, it sounds like an extreme measure until you look closely at the physical reality of human biomechanics. FIFA's technical operations representative, Romy Guy, actually provides a vital insight here.
What's his take on it?
Well, the core problem with generic skeletal outlines is that human bodies vary wildly in their actual physical topography. They vary in volume, in muscle mass, in basic skeletal shape.
I'm not sure I see how that changes an offside call, though.
Think about the physical disparities on a pitch. You might have a 6'5" forward attacking the goal, defended by a 5'9" defender.
Okay.
A generic stick figure skeleton assumes a standard physical volume around those 29 tracking points. It cannot accurately compare the forward's highly developed extended knee against the defender's hip.
Oh, wow. I never
Yeah.
thought about that.
Right. The margins for offside in this tournament are so incredibly tight, literally down to the millimeter, that the difference between a muscular thigh and a slender thigh literally changes the geographical plane of the offside line.
So the skeletal wireframe tells the computer where the bone is, but the 3D avatar tells the computer exactly how far the muscle and tissue extend off that bone.
That is the exact mechanism. By feeding the specific physical metrics of every player into the engine, The system turns what used to be a subjective marginal call into literal forensic science.
That is wild.
When the system checks for offside, it's not using a generic computer-generated line drawn across the grass anymore. It is dropping the actual scanned physical avatars of those two specific players onto the virtual pitch at the exact microsecond the 500 hertz ball registered the kick.
That level of computation is staggering. And for you listening, this directly impacts your visceral experience of watching the game. Because back in 2022, traditional VAR reviews for complex offside decisions took an average of 70 excruciating seconds.
70 seconds of just dead air.
Yeah, you're just sitting there, the players are standing around looking confused, and the momentum of the match completely dies. But now, with the 500 hertz timestamp perfectly synced to this customized 3D avatar tracking, the AI crunches that spatial reality instantly.
It's immediate.
The decision process drops from over a minute down to under 25 seconds.
It restores the flow of the game by automating the geometry. But, the evolution doesn't stop at refereeing.
Right.
The sheer volume of spatial data being generated has cascaded into an entirely different aspect of the sport.
And this is the part that genuinely blew my mind. All of this data, the 29-point skeletons, the 500 hertz ball impacts, the exact physical dimensions of the avatars, it isn't just sitting in a referee's hard drive waiting to call a foul.
Not at all.
It is actively changing how the game is played live.
The transition from officiating technology to active gameplay strategy is seamless. The sources detail a platform called Football AI Pro,
A generative knowledge platform introduced by FIFA, and coaches are actually using this on the bench during the match.
They are. Coaches and their tactical staffs are literally sitting on the touchline with ruggedized tablets, watching complex data visualizations that update in real time.
That feels like cheating.
It really feels like a video game. Football AI Pro is fed by hundreds of millions of historical data points, and it constantly ingests the live, millimeter-accurate tracking data happening during the current match.
But how does that actually translate to a tactical advantage? Like, what is the AI seeing that a coach isn't?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Coach Luis Valenzuela, an international tactician, quoted in the analysis, he explains the mechanics brilliantly. During a game, analysts feed the live tracking data into the AI engine.
Okay.
Because the system knows exactly where every player is, how fast they are moving, and their exact physical orientation, it can spot structural flaws in an opponent's shape instantly.
Instantly.
Yes. Valenzuela notes that these are patterns it would take a human eye maybe 20 minutes of intense observation to notice and verify.
And 20 minutes is an eternity in football. I mean, you could easily concede 2 goals in 20 minutes.
Exactly. The AI circumvents that observation period entirely. It calculates the aggregate distance between players dynamically.
So what does that look like on the tablet?
It might send an instant notification saying, every time the opponent's left back presses forward, their defensive line drops exactly 3 meters too deep on the opposite side, creating a high probability passing lane.
That is insane. It recognizes the structural domino effect of a single player moving out of position, measures the exact yardage of the vulnerability, and just hands that insight directly to the coach.
Right.
It's like having a supercomputer playing chess, constantly calculating the opponent's weaknesses. And what really stands out about Valenzuela's perspective is how he views the impact on the broader ecosystem of the sport, because he points out that this technology actually democratizes elite strategy.
It acts as a great equalizer among the federations.
Previously, the wealthiest national teams had massive, like 50-person human analytics departments grinding away in back rooms, scrubbing video feeds, and compiling massive dossiers on opponents.
Yeah, smaller federations just couldn't compete with that level of human capital.
They didn't have the budget. Now, Football AI Pro levels the playing field. You don't need a massive team of data scientists if the generative AI is feeding you surgical, real-time tactical adjustments based on pure, instantaneous spatial data.
The competitive advantage totally shifts. It is no longer about who can afford the most analysts to gather the data. The intelligence of a coach's tactical response to the AI's insights becomes the primary differentiator.
But, we have to pause the tech celebration here for a second. There is a massive psychological elephant in the room that the sources tackle head-on.
Yeah, the human element.
Right. We are talking about millimeter-accurate 3D avatars, 500 hertz sensors embedded in synthetic tendons, and generative AI tactical engines. If a historic, breathtaking goal, a moment of pure athletic magic, is suddenly disallowed because a striker's toe is 3 millimeters offside according to some hidden algorithm, are we destroying the joy of the sport?
It's a huge question.
Has this forensic obsession stripped out the human soul of football?
It is the central tension of the 2026 World Cup, and honestly, a profoundly valid concern. When you introduce clinical precision to a deeply emotional event, something fundamentally changes.
Mark Golden, a veteran football journalist in our sources, he delivers a really sharp critique of this shift.
What does he argue?
He argues that football was invented as an emotional, fluid, chaotic game. It lived in the gray areas. The referee wasn't expected to be a perfectly calibrated robot. The referee was just part of the landscape, like a heavy wind or a muddy pitch.
You just dealt with the elements.
Exactly. You dealt with their imperfections, their missed calls, as part of the game's natural narrative. But now, he argues, we are treating a football match like a crime scene investigation.
Right, the spontaneity of celebration is held hostage by computation.
That's exactly it. Fans explode in celebration, they experience that incredible catharsis, and then they have to pause. They have to wait for 25 seconds for a machine in a distant server room to authorize their joy.
It's jarring.
Golden says it completely alters the psychological release of the sport. The organic magic is being suffocated by data.
This raises an important question, though. This friction between the emotional reality of the fans and the mathematical reality of the system. It's about the balance of power. Who is actually running the game?
Is it the AI or the humans?
Right. And Dr. Sharma addresses this anxiety by reminding us of a critical operational boundary built into the 2026 protocols. The AI, for all its processing power, for all its millimeter precision and spatial mapping, does not actually make the final decision.
Oh, right. It basically generates a highly educated recommendation.
Exactly. It sends an alert directly to the VAR booth. The human video assistant reviews the automated lines and the 3D avatar placement, confirms the validity of the data point, and then communicates it to the head referee on the pitch.
So there's still a human in the loop.
The machine acts as an omnipresent advisor, but the human remains the ultimate judge. The final whistle is still blown by a person who understands the context of the match.
And the organizers also recognize that the feeling of an opaque, mysterious delay is what truly ruins the fan experience. To combat that, the 2026 tournament made transparency the ultimate priority.
They had to rebuild trust.
Right, they set out to rebuild trust between the machine and the masses in the stands. So when a marginal call is made, they don't just keep the fans in the dark anymore. They broadcast the referee's audio explanation live over the stadium's PA system.
Just like in rugby or the NFL.
Exactly. And simultaneously, they flash those 3D avatar animations on the giant stadium screens for the live crowd at the exact same moment the television audience sees it.
Revealing the internal computational gears to the public instantly removes the mysticism. It's no longer a secret tribunal of officials in a dark room stealing your team's goal.
No, it translates cold, abstract spatial data into immediate, verifiable truth. You look up at the screen, you literally see the 3D twin of your striker, and you see unequivocally that his shoulder blade was in fact extended past the defender's hip at the exact millisecond the ball was kicked.
You can't argue with it.
You might be furious about the rule, but you cannot argue with the absolute physical truth of the event.
So when we step back and look at the synthesis of all these technologies, the IMUs, the optical tracking, the avatars, the generative tactics, what does this overarching shift actually mean for the future of the sport?
I think the most vital takeaway from the Millimeter World Cup is that 2026 represents a definitive point of no return for global athletics.
There's no going back.
None. The marriage between sport and artificial intelligence isn't some quirky experimental trial or a temporary gimmick. It is the permanent foundational framework of the game going forward.
Yeah.
Now, as Mark Golden rightly points out, grassroots football remains completely untouched. A kid kicking a low-tech, scuffed-up ball at a patch of grass between two coats used as goalposts, that pure human magic will always exist.
Of course.
But at the elite level, when an entire country's pride and, billions of dollars are on the line, AI is now the guarantor. It ensures that outcomes are decided purely by athletic talent and execution, never by a human official's momentary blind spot.
It preserves the integrity of the highest stakes imaginable. But I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, kind of building on the trajectory of the technologies we've explored today.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've seen how generative AI systems like Football AI Pro and millimeter-accurate 3D avatars can instantly decode a player's exact physiological habits, their physical volume, and their deeply ingrained tactical flaws in real time on the pitch.
Yeah.
If this technology is already this deeply embedded in the live, chaotic environment of a World Cup match, how long will it be until player contracts, Massive transfer fees and global scouting networks are entirely dictated by algorithmic simulations rather than human scouts.
Oh, wow.
If a machine knows the exact physical limits, the injury probabilities, and the tactical ceiling of a player's 3D avatar, will human intuition in team building just become a relic of the past?
That is a fascinating and honestly slightly terrifying thought to leave on. The algorithm moving from referee to assistant coach to the ultimate general manager.
It's the logical next step.
We'll definitely have to see how that evolution plays out in the transfer markets. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Millimeter World Cup. Remember to stay curious, keep questioning the data around you, and next time you're in a stadium and you hear that digital heartbeat take over, you'll know exactly what's happening under the hood. Catch you next time.